welcome our next series of speakers for the Manaaki Tangata Certificate in Bicultural Social Services Level 4 presentation on transformation of Whānau through the Wānanga Aotearoa and the phenomenal growth that they're experiencing. So we've got the A-team with us, all the way from Te Uhu and Tāmaki in the house. So great to see you, everybody. But I'll let you come through and start all your introductions shortly. Okay, nō reira, ho mai te paki, he te whānau.
Kia ora whānau. He honore, he kororia ki te atua, he maunga rongo ki te whenua, he whakaro whai ki ngā tangata katoa. Ko Adam Speak toku maunga, ko Kelani toku awa, ko Bay of Bengal toku moana, ko Sinhalese toku iwi, ko Kathri toku papa, ko Karuna toku mama, ko Prem toku ingua, no Sri Lanka ahau. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Tukuna te rākau ki a koe, Sameen.
Ko Sameen Masood toko ingua, he kai ako ahau ki te Manaaki Tangata. E whānau mai ahau i Islamabad, i tupu ake ahau i Pakistan, ki kirikiri roa ahau e noho ana. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou.
Kia ora whānau. Ko whiria te maunga ko ngā toki ma te whaora te waka, ko ngā pu te iwi, ko ngā te korokoro te hapu, ko naru e te ari ki ruengi, rawa ko June Mau, o ku matua, ko Celia Pota Hau, kai whakahaere ako, Manaaki Tangata, ki Tamaki.
Kia ora whānau. My name is Shahul, Hameed, and I hail from India. I've been in New Zealand and Australia for the last 22 years. I've been associated with this program for quite a long time, so I would directly go and address some of the issues which actually are sometimes confusing. But I want to restrict ourselves within social services. I'm not talking about Mātauranga Māori. I'm talking about biculturalism. So when we actually go for the whakapapa of the biculturalism, we understand, and you have seen that right from Prem and from Sameen, we all are bicultural. One of our colleague, she didn't turn up because she was sick. She is from Samoa. So I'm from India. So you can see the nature of teaching. Now we know that whether it's Crown or anything, whether it's a research funding or rangahau funding, we understand that it's all based on how many people you involve, how many ethnicities you involve, and what exactly impact it has. So when we talk about transformation, we are not talking about transition. We are talking about transformation of Whānau. In particular, we are restricting ourselves. So we go back to biculturalism and we understand that biculturalism, the concept in fact was actually given by the Maori Waikato king. His name was Pohatu Pharaoh. Sorry for my pronunciation, Whānau. He was the man who said that, and his prophetic, utterance, his korero was that you have to we have only one eye in the needle, and all the threads, whether it's red, black, or white, has to pass that, which means that you should go flashback for 160 years and see that the concept of biculturalism was not known, because New Zealand was a country which was, then we had the colonization settlers colonization processes were taking place. So we understand that he could judge many people are going to come, not only Pakia, right from Chinese, Indians and others will come. And that was his prophetic utterance, what he did. Later we understand that biculturalism, what we actually imbibed, again the other prominent person, emeritus professor, we have Rangi Walker. You all are aware of the Pohatu report, where he specifically mentioned in the 13, the recommendation what he has given. And if you read, in fact, he has said that New Zealand has to exist. If we have to exist, if we have to carry forward forward our Mataranga Maori, we need to have an infusion of biculturalism, which means that we have to take the other concept. It's very simple. In a waka, you need people to pedal. You need two pedals to pedal, otherwise waka won't move forward. Similarly, we understand Rangi Waka was a man who actually bought that, and his commission, Pohatu report was actually commissioned by the New Zealand government. MSD it was, and so he talked about that. Later we understand, later development after 1980s, I don't go in deep in that, we had that kinds of reclamation of our Maoridom, the Maori Kopapa, and we understand it was Taina Pohatu and Rongo Waitere, in fact, who combinedly started and thought that if we had to run something on social service, it's only not meant to a particular ethnicity. It is meant to everybody. It's only then we get the funding, and we started the bicultural bachelor social service program, and I come from the certificate program, Manaaki Tāngata, which was, and one of our colleagues is going to talk. She's going to talk from 2017. I'm just going in a nutshell how things develop. So when we talk about Taina Pohatu, naturally we think about the Kopapa, Wānanga, we think. That was our first ideal understanding. It's nothing to do Matwa, Wānanga. We are not talking about that Kopapa. We are talking about Kopapa Wānanga. And we understand in the Kopapa Wānanga, it was Taina Pohatu actually who emphasized that we had to apply Nata Kepo. So if you have a look at our content and intent of our program in Manaaki Tāngata, you will see that lot of infusion of Kaitiaki Tāngata, Whananga Tāngata. We start with Whananga Tāngata, Whakakoha Rangitera Tāngata, Kaitiaki Tāngata, and then we have the Treaty of Waitangi. We don't call the Treaty of Waitangi, and then we have the social service, and then we talk about Tino Rangitera Tāngata. Again, we talk about Pukinga Tāngata, then we talk about Manaaki Tāngata, Ahuri Tāngata. It all leads to Maori Ora. So the whole program, in fact, the definition of Taina Pohatu was, it's all social work according to him. It was all pursuit of Maori Ora. Now, he didn't talk all this bullshit of empowerment and all that, because he was very specific. When you go towards the Maori Ora, obviously you're going to meet all those Nata Kepon. He was insisting you had to use. So in our 6 Konayako, we have, in fact, all those Konais which actually deal. And my colleagues are going to actually expand and tell their experience exactly and why this phenomenal growth has taken place. If you look at the numbers, end of the day, it's all number game. We all are sitting here. We know that we cannot hide from the reality is how much numbers actually come out. Thank you for the upper line, and thank you specifically for Celia that this has to happen, because you could manage a bicultural team in our Rohin Mangri, and we could produce such a huge amount of people graduating. You may ask a question that, okay, it's just level 4, what they're going to do. Yeah, they will get a whānau worker job, a support worker job, they'll go. But at least it gets some income for them. They're not dependent on the state, on the government. With that income, they can then contemplate and try to actually go for bachelors. It's more of multidisciplinary subject, Whānau. Thank you, Whānau, for that, and I will hand over my rangahau to Sameen.
Kia ora. I'm going to continue from what Shahul was saying. Our focus today is bicultural practice, bicultural content, and the thorough opportunity and privilege to be here. That's me. I would like to also mention, as I mentioned before, I personally born and brought up in Pakistan, and then I did my PhD in sociology from University of Leicester, UK, and that's where my passion and my motivation stems from. So I've been a sociologist for as long as I remember, since year 11. That's my discipline, that's what I love, that's what I've stick to. And again, this Ako Wānanga space have given me the opportunity to stay with my passion, with my motivation, because at the end of the day, yeah, it's about social development, developing whānau, hapu, iwi, hapuri, and the hapuri, yeah. That's the lens I bring into the team. And the talking about the team, I myself am a humble little, outcome of Whānau transformation and a professional transformation, because I personally also did Manaaki Tangata 7+ years ago when I migrated. I was like, okay, you're a sociologist, you want to be a sociologist, you want to stay a sociologist, so what's the culture of the indigenous population? I was like, uh-oh, Sameen, you're in trouble now. You've come from Pakistan, you've studied in England, wow, good job landing in New Zealand. But yeah, I stick to it. And it was Manaaki Tangata, and like Shahul said, that the whole kaupapa leading up to Moriora and the Takipu and the foundations that give me the privilege to stand here, to be here. Standing is even like to be here in this sense. Yesterday, it's a very privileged, honor, overwhelming experience to stand here, because again, as a researcher, and we are in a rangahau symposium, we are in a rangahau conference, that was again a very contrasting position to be in. I never knew doing a PhD from England would be a bad thing. I learned it in a very hard way, but yet again, coming back to Ako Wānanga space, that was the space where the bicultural knowledge and my expertise, my passion, my motivation, I did not have to leave it. I did not have to assimilate either academically, professionally, or personally, or religiously, and that's the I think blessing Allah has given me. That's why I landed in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Because like we are saying, the bicultural notions allow us to weave in and out of one another, constantly to support, challenge, extend, and enhance a relationship within the learning spaces and social service kaupapa. Like Shahul shared, and privileged to be under Celia's team. I'm living in Hamilton, Kirikiriroa, but I'm working in Mangere. And that in itself, I don't need to say, it's a self-explanatory statement of how welcoming, comforting, safe, supporting, challenging as well, how big that learning opportunity was for me. Because when I did Manaaki Tangata, I was like, okay, that's how I'm gonna transform. And working in Mangere, again, all of the challenges that the earlier project detailed just before lunch, I could see them because I'm a migrant. I don't have those lived experiences, so how can I better to see them than to work in Tamaki Makaro? Again, I am talking on behalf of the privileged space where bodies of knowledge and principles from Maori and non-Māori sources are brought together to create that bicultural space. So they're Maori and other, so I'm other. One of my other aspiration and motivation is that when Tangata Whenua think Maori and other, so there are more colors in others that they imagine in their head rather than just one. So that's another aspiration and motivation that, others, and Prem is gonna expand on that diversity element as well. But that's another passion and motivation that my humble 2 cents bring to the team, that within Tamaki Makaurau, having that platform, others also have authentic body of knowledge that they can bring in their lived experiences, their spirituality, all of that as authentic, and that gives our Akonga, our Toira, an opportunity of reflective practice that, oh, she's standing there wearing all of that, talking whatever she's talking, and it opens up. It opens up a very safe space where everybody is respected, accepted, acknowledged. We have Tangata Whenua Toira who have been in Kura Kaupapa, totally immersed in Te Reo Maori and Matoranga Maori. At the same time, the Tangata Whenua Toira stepping into the classroom who have never been to their homelands and migrated to Australia and just came back as an adult learner, and with distance from their Reo and distance from their heritage and connections. So within the same classroom, but that's the privilege the Ako Wānanga space gives us, that everybody can be as authentic and as original in their own stance. Moreover, I'm gonna conclude kind of, I was very privileged when the Mana Whenua keynote kura yesterday also highlighted, reflecting on tiriti and tino rangatiratanga, that it is the spirituality that sits in the heart, and that's where the tino rangatiratanga emerges from. And I want to reflect, I was like, oh great, and now I have more confidence in my presentation, because I was also wanting to talk about that. I'm a Muslim, and that's where my religiosity and spirituality sits in. We have spiritually and religiously a very diverse team, and again, a thorough respect, a thorough acceptance, a thorough acknowledgement of everybody's belief system, spirituality, their vayura, what makes them well, what makes them unwell, and authentically accepting those spaces. And that yet again allows us to weave a bicultural space where Tangata Whenua and Tangata tiriti, they're merging and weaving together, making a beautiful pattern of their own. I'll conclude, this whakatoki sits really close to my professional practice. Naute roro, nako te roro, ka ora aiti iwi. Like I said, I'm a sociologist, and thus thriving people, thriving communities, thriving society is what we envision, and nothing less than that. And with Akonga's basket, their lived experiences, their reo, whether they're rangatahi, whether they're adult learners, the spectrum of their knowledge that they bring in, and with my basket of my lived experiences as a migrant, my lived experiences as a single mother of 3 daughters, my academic experiences of a PhD from UK, my disciplinary experiences of a sociologist, my religiosity and spiritual, that's my basket. I literally, empty my basket when I step into the room, and then I'm waving my empty basket around in the room that, hey, what's in your kitty? Which donations I can collect. That sits at the heart of my professional practice. And continue on to Ako Wānanga and bicultural perspective, I hand over to Prem.
Very intense speech. I won't be that fast. Yes, Whānau. So, living, learning, and teaching, Ako process, isn't it? So, I have lived experience. So I will start with that before going into the rest. 25 years ago, packing my bags from Sri Lanka and arriving in New Zealand, Aotearoa, with 18 months old baby and 5-year-old girl, knowing only the word kia ora. That's also because of the Singapore High Commission always answered me kia ora. Nothing else interior, and I didn't know how the people in the Tangata Whenua work in New Zealand, and then how they think, kaupapa, na takipu, not a single thing that in my mind. But after arriving here also, so my first step was to, other than my bachelor's from Sri Lanka, to get my further studies, it was mainstream that I selected. I'll come to Wānanga later, but Masood University, Southern Institute of Technology, like places, yes, mainstream. And I like it. You know why? Then I could compare with what is Wānanga in terms of the mainstream, and then how it is different, and what Manaaki means to somebody that comes from here. The respect, kindness, and the hospitality, most importantly, that goes from you towards another human. Okay, right. So, after some time, I had an opportunity to join an organization called Te Whanangau Aotearoa. You know when? 2007. So I complete 18 years in this organization and I'm still here. 1 minute. Why I stayed in this organization? There are two things. Let me go another lived experience. I joined as a computing kayako. And after some time, I got the invitation, come and experience this foray and join us. And then, that was a transformation in my life from a digital world to a real world. You know why? Instead of binary, I was going to talk about what? The kaupapa, na takipu, and things like that in my life. Right? So, and coming back to the learning and teaching process. Now let's talk about that. Whānau as a philosophy, a kaupapa. I learned Whānau. This is the only culture that is Maori culture. There's something called kaupapa Whānau and whakapapa Whānau. Not even my own Sri Lankan culture, we only have our whakapapa Whānau. According to my turanga vaivai, my mother, father, uncle, auntie, Jokana Teina now, right? Everybody is my whakapapa Whānau. Luckily, I studied at Te Whananga Raukawa for my diploma in social work. You know what I'm talking about? So, that's where I learned the new word, my kaupapa Whānau. Now I go in front of my tuira, kia ora Whānau. That I never did it in my country even. No, there's no such thing. If you ask a Sri Lankan, do you go and talk in front of a big gathering saying, kia ora Whānau? No, that's not happening there. So, I'm a Sri Lankan Maori now. Because I like this culture much better than the things that I learned over there in terms of Manaaki. Right. Now, the next step in my speech is this importance of this, because it says Maori Renaissance has laid an emphasis on biculturalism based on the partnership between Maori and the Crown established by tiriti of Waitangi. You know, the Article 2, Tino Rangatiratanga. And also, I'm not going too much into that, but according to treaty partners, we are Tauiwi, or in another word, Tangata tiriti. So, nowadays, according to Tamaki Makarau class, when we go in front of our Toira, yes, there are Tangata whenua, there are people from Pacifica, and also lots of people from other parts of the world. So, who we belong to, including me, Tauiwi, Tangata tiriti. So, as a Tangata tiriti, in me, how I support the people who come to this land, Aotearoa, from somewhere else, and adapt it into this culture. And the thing I faced, going in mainstream and knowing nothing about Maori culture, is our thing that let them know, yeah, there are lovely things like Te Whakakoharangatira, the Gnatakipu. What is it? Yes, you can make whanaungatanga with people, but unless the respectfulness and the integrity and the honesty in that relationship, that doesn't apply into Te Whakakoharangatira. Yes, whanautanga. You can make the relationship with anybody you meet, but that Natakipu, the principled approach, if you don't apply the Natakipu, the principled approach, in whanaungatanga, that is called Te Whakakoharangatira, that won't go anywhere. Right. Same as Kaitiakitanga. Yes, sometimes we explain it as a kaupapa, but according to our program, our kaupapa is social services, and we take Kaitiakitanga to the next level, the principled approach, the takipu, Kaitiakitanga. So, yeah, I'm not going to talk about this guardianship, sustainability, and then all these words, because we all know. But what is the idea there? The taonga, that those are around you. It could be a man, human, it could be animal, it could be a material or non-material. What is a non-material taonga? My belief to the good. That's my belief. Is there a material there? No, it's non-material. That big dam holds the water, giving us the electricity. Yeah, it's material. That's a taonga. The forest, the river, moana, everything is some material. So that's one of the taonga. So the next level of Kaitiaki Tanga is nothing other than you are going to protect it, save it, and most importantly, improve it and pass it to the next generation. So that improvement part is also so important. It has to be in a better format when you pass it to the next generation as a Kaitiaki. So that's the importance of Kaitiaki Tanga that we believe in our program as a takipu, not takipu. And then, same as Ahuru Tanga, because Shahul mentioned about every natakipu that we have, like Tefakakua Rangatira Tanga, Teno Rangatira Tanga, everything. And then Ahuru Tanga, safe space. Safe space, and also we talk about quality space. Because as we, like social service providers, as we go out to give some service to somebody to make their life better, to bring that life spark in their life, to bring Maoriora to their lives, what do we need to do? We have to deal with them, talk to them, help them. Then that comes Ahuru Tanga, because we all have our own bubbles. There's a clear-cut demarcation that we can't step into someone else's space. What happens? If that happens, that person will be really uncomfortable. Same as vice versa myself. If someone else, if cross that limit and comes towards me, so my Ahuru Tanga is disturbed. And then, similarly, I think I have another slide. No, that's the next one. Let's go a little bit towards the last one. Importance of na takipu is so important as the principled approach of any kaupapa that is associated with Manaaki Tangata. Okay, now our team member Lisa Amoa was going to talk about Tangata moana. Because of some circumstances, she couldn't come to Wellington with us. So Sameen and myself are going to cover 2 slides on behalf of Lisa, and then finally Celia will step in to finish off our presentation. Yep. So, Tangata moana, people from all our islands, Pacific islands, right? After completion of this course, so many people have told us this particular program has changed our lives. How? They actually have given us the strength to stay out of our trouble and have some kind of a direction in our lives and move forward. That's one thing. And the other thing, that will apply into their personal life as well as their professional life. So, they were motivated, they learned about all the values, kaupapa and na takipu during this program, and then made their lives better to bring the Maoriora to their lives. I think Sameen can step in now and then talk about the second slide.
After our lunch session, there was a really beautiful encouragement shared that we are constantly throughout since yesterday have been thinking rigorously around transformative outcomes, and there should also be a focus on transformative practice and transformative journey and transformative experience. Really got super encouraged with that, because that's somewhat what Lisa was also focusing on sharing, that in Manaaki Tangata, the outcomes before those outcomes that that are anticipated as a success and the tohu and the graduation, the same korero we had in the morning. Before that, the internal confidence, internal self-belief, better self-awareness, mindfulness, better connections, all of those scope up as we practice, as they incorporate it in themselves, allow them to be, like what Prem said, a better person, a focused person, a clear person with clear goals, clear directions, better support groups, better opportunities, and better thinking for one's own self, you know, thinking good, better relationship with one's own self. Our learning outcomes start from awe. So you have to be, first of all, have good relationship with yourself. Give yourself a safe space. Give yourself respect. And that's where the internal transformation within the Akonga starts during, or I would say even before the classes start and after admission. As they said in the morning session, crossing that door in and rolling is success for many. That's what that was, you know, I was like, oh, that resonates with what Lisa wanted to do. For the external one, it is again, Whānau transformation. We have heard quite about it. And I'm going to lead the educational pathways to Celia, because that's where also our Akonga are transitioning. Thank you so much.
Isn't it wonderful? Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate this time, but it's always an opportunity to be able to grow. You know, that is one of our key areas, it's one of our strategic objectives for the Wānanga. How do we become sustainable? What does growth look like within our own organisation? And this is an example of what diversity looks like. So we're just going to backtrack just a moment. We've only got 5 minutes. Please bear with us for a moment. 2017 was a significant year for Te Wānanga Aotearoa. It was the rebirth of the social services, the rebirthing of Manaaki Tangata. Its original name prior to that was Te Tifiki Nā Pautoko Whakarara Oranga. And it became a mouthful for many people. And then when it went back into the table and a redevelopment came through, Manaaki Tangata. What does that look like for you? You are manaking us as tangata here. Tangata, whether we're tangata whenua, tangata tiriti. And likewise, we offer the same aroha, we offer the same back to you too. So 2017 became a significant year for Manaaki Tangata. It was a year of change in the evolution of our environments, the landscape. Diversity was moving into our lands. So as an organisation, we had to reshape ourselves. We had to get our waka ahead and moving. As part of Manaaki Tangata's new look, the construct was that of a korowai. So we noticed that all the takipu, the nā takipu were the whenua, yeah? And they sat along the taniko top part. And in contrast, the blend to that was the aho, or the kaupapa. So we can't go without one or without the other. And as our team spoke about the relationships, but they were cultural signposts for us. They were cultural constructs. That's our point of difference. That's what makes you and I different. That's what makes our Wānanga so different. But as a person, you could stand in that cultural construct. As a whānau, we could stand in it and have those different perspectives to it. So in 2017, we were given 6 classes. We had 123 ākonga. I'm going to be looking after this piece that not many people like, social engagement demographics. And out of that, we had 81% completion rate across those 6 programs. That was significant. Now, in 2019, 2 years on, the communities, our stakeholders, our employers, our whānau saw there was a profound impact that was happening in their communities, happening in their homes, happening in the workplace. Why? Because they saw this was a bicultural movement that they had not seen before. It wasn't stagnant. So what we were invited to do, we provided the bicultural lens that was seen as desirable. It was complementary. They were prerequisites to those that were in the profession. Whether you were a social worker, in the health sector, whether you were in education. This was a number one thing that you needed to have. So in 2019, 7 extra classes were added, which gave us 13 classes. There was an increase of 68% in 3 years' time. It was a visible mosaic, and you can see just some of it, of cultures, of dress, of language, of kai, of narratives, of pūrākau, of waiata. They wanted to be in the wānanga because they got it, that the wānanga was for them. Thank you. So now let's move along. As a consequence of that, we needed to make sure that we as an organisation were ready. So what we did, we employed staff, kaimahi, kaiako, that reflected our communities. So, and that's been a really big blessing for us. And as you heard only some of them, you notice that they speak like us because they believe and they adorn themselves in the takipu when they come to mahi and when they leave mahi. Now, how do I move this way? So now we're going to move on. So the snapshot of the areas that we're going to look at specifically is the 4 years of 2020 to 2023. We wanted to really just focus on these areas and draw our attention, to the presence, the strong presence of Māori participation during that time frame in the Ako space. Even though it looks at a percent, here, that's right here, right. It shows us a percentage of Māori. It was natural. It was natural for Māori to be in that environment. It was natural for Māori to wānanga. It was natural to noho. Whanaungatanga, reo, tikanga, whakapapa became natural. So it was natural for Māori to lead the way in the 2 minutes, in those positions. Yes, we've got 2 minutes. Let's go. Let me turn this around so we can do it 2 minutes, eh? Okay, so in 2 minutes, 2 minutes, what we can see very clearly, even though, oh no, you've got to go back. Can you take it back? No, it goes to go back the other way. There, yeah, we have hold it there. So we can see that Māori represent 572 over that 4-year period of participation, and that's a big celebration, yeah, for Māori. You see the diversity that exists. Let's click on one, please, Prem. Oh, sorry, go back again, please. Sorry, the completion rate, if we take a look at this period, that's the Whangarei site that came on board in 2023. We see the orange was our Waitakere campus, but just bearing in mind that was a smaller campus, it didn't offer as many programs, but the majority of the offerings of the programs were done at the Tāmaki site. What we want to specifically look at is the representation. If we take a look at that far picture, those were the students that entered Manaaki Tangata in 2023. They graduated and they now moved on to the Bachelor of Social Work in 2024. The picture on this side, in 2019, they completed Manaaki Tangata. They enrolled into the Bachelor of Social Work in 2020 and graduated in 2024 with a degree. So there's transition, there's pathways, and there's the biculturalism that exists within the kaupapa of Manaaki Tangata. Thank you, Prem. These were areas we wanted to look at, priority, what was important. Those that were non-working, it doesn't mean to say they weren't working. They had been working, they may have had families, circumstances have changed, but they wanted to come through to upskill. But we notice here, look in the purple line, most of our people were actually working. Most of them were coming in from the workforce. What they wanted to do, they wanted to excel in different higher positions and higher roles, and they saw Manaaki Tangata as that gateway opportunity. And as one of our kāko mentioned earlier on, you know, we aligned with career services, so it took them up to $27, $28 an hour. That was significant when they're sitting on $19 an hour. That was significant change to how much they could, you know, maintain in their everyday life. We take a look down below. We used to, in 2020, where the population was 40 years and over, but now you'll see we're gravitating more to the 29 plus that are engaging in this program, which means they are the working force wanting to be role models to their own whānau. This is the vibrance of Manaaki Tangata in Tamaki Makaurau. If you're ever in that area, let us know. We'd love to have you up board. This young lady wanted to point her out specifically. That's Whai Ora Marae. She didn't know she was coming back to that marae. But 2 years ago, her daughter lay on that marae. So when she came for her first pohiri and it was at Whai Ora Marae, it just broke her heart, but she was really, really relieved. So, you know, these things have a lot of healing times and processes. Almost this last slide is gender. Tāne, we celebrate our tāne. When we first started off, we only had 18 men. 2017, we only had 18 men participate. They were very, very low. The blue indicates wahinima that are really quite strong in Manaaki Tangata. But ladies, look. Tāne, look. Look at the change. 23, 160 tāne are in that space. And if we push the button again, that's a 90, stop it, and push it again, that's a 90% increase from 2017 to 2023. It's taken time. But now our tāne, we nurture tāne that come in. Why? Because they're critical to this kaupapa of Manaaki Tangata. And it's allowed both sides to be able to answer some questions that they have. But it's all done under our takepu, in that quality space of ahurutanga. They get to take their own role, take their own places. Tāne, let's go to our next slide. Okay, this is a really important. We always go back to our strategic plan. We always go back to our direction. It's always the why, what, how. And we take our next slide, please. Son, would you like to read our kaupapa there, please, our whakataki? Yes, please.
Those who lead give sight to those who follow, those who follow give life to those who lead.
Isn't that nice, eh? Yeah, you're all leaders. We're all followers, but we're all leaders at the same time, eh? Priest, please. And that's where this comes back. It's about ensuring sustainability for Te Wānanga Aotearoa through educational excellence. And one more slide. This is something to contemplate. There is potential in Te Wānanga Aotearoa for a mix of provision to include diploma qualifications in mental health, whānau ora, leadership, as a priority for future social services programs. Something for us to constantly pursue. Rangahau is the ideal space for you and I to constantly pursue. You and I are not only stakeholders in Te Wānanga Aotearoa, we got whakapapa here. We have obligation, we have responsibilities to respond to that. So at this time I'd like to also acknowledge Dr. Morahugh MacDonald. He used to be our Okaha Ako in Tamaki Makaurau. So it is an absolute privilege, Morahugh, to see you again and take care of us today. To also acknowledge Te Haipai Oa and Te Mana Whahau Kura, who are the organizers of this beautiful conference, to acknowledge each and every one, our whai that's sitting in our audience. Thank you for being a part of that. We really appreciate your time. May the Lord richly bless you.